Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is Panos here, co-founder and CEO of LearnWorlds. Thanks for coming here. Looking forward to meeting you all. You can use the chat box of Zoom. So let's introduce ourselves. Let us know where are you logging in from. I'm sure we will have people from all over the world. Hi, Matthias. Hi, Halima. Hi, Phoenix. Great, an amazing audience tonight. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll just take one moment, give the chance to more people to catch the webinar from the beginning, and we will be on our way. So we won't delay you. Keep in mind that you can use the chat box of Zoom throughout the webinar to post your questions. Hopefully, we will have some time at the end to field a couple of questions. In any case, the webinar is being recorded, so you will have the chance to get a recording right after. It's already being live streamed on our YouTube channel, so you will find it even right after the end of the webinar. You will find it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/learnworlds. But also, we will make sure to send you a recording. So there's no need to ask for it during the chat. We always make all our recordings available. We also have with us today Kosmas, Eleni, and Angie from our customer support team. They will be answering questions here throughout the presentation, answering as many as possible. Anything that we won't be able to answer, we will make sure to follow up afterwards. And also, as always, an amazing supporting team for us today with Olia, with Nick, with everyone from our team who will be here to support the successful webinar. So hope you can hear us all right. We are ready to start in a few seconds. I see already many questions about ChatGPT and also some about the platform. Stay tuned. We will be able to answer all these questions and give you specific answers as we go along. The chat should be also now visible to everyone, so you should be able to see other people's responses. Let's make it interactive as possible. That's also our goal for today, to have the webinar as interactive and engaging as possible, and obviously helpful to you. So let's gradually start. Let's turn on our cameras. Hi, everyone. This is Panos here from LearnWorlds.
Hi there. I'm George.
Hello, Melissa.
Everyone, I'm George too.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's an amazing panel. Thanks for having you here. All here. It's an honor to host experts, I dare say, on this subject. So right away, we won't let you wait any longer. We'll go along with the content. So today's webinar is about mastering ChatGPT for course creation with the art of prompting. This is not a basic presentation. We won't talk about what GPT is so much, why it works, if it works. We'll start showing you right away how you can take advantage of it today to really enhance your course and your content creation progress. So we take it for granted that it works, and you'll have some very, very actionable prompts from us here today, and also lots of engagement and interaction about how these prompts can be used with actual instructional design practices that can enhance your content. So a very brief intro about who we are. We are LearnWorlds. We are an online course creation platform for people to create content, share or sell courses through their platform. Here we are on a mission to future-proof knowledge businesses, to help course creators, professional trainers, but even HR practitioners, customer educators, to really package their knowledge in the form of interactive, engaging online courses and share or sell and distribute this knowledge. So we give you an all-in-one platform where you can start from the creation of an online course all the way to the distribution and selling of this online course. And today's speakers, I won't talk about myself. I'm the co-founder and CEO of LearnWorlds. We have George, who is George Palegeorgiou, who is another co-founder of LearnWorlds and the chief product owner and designer of the platform. We have our amazing Elisa Chani, who is the learning designer of LearnWorlds, and you've seen her probably in numerous webinars and presentations. And extremely honored today to have with us George Velechanos, who is a professor in Canada. He's the chair of Canada Researchers in Innovative Learning and Technology. He has been designing, developing, and evaluating digital learning environments for nearly 20 years. So he will be here today upgrading our content and sharing his own expertise and his own take on instructional design through the use of ChatGPT. So hopefully you will enjoy this session as much as we will. Here's our agenda for today. A very brief, superficial even intro about what GPT is and how we will be using it today. Then we'll start discussing about the learning problem and the learning design and how we can get help in designing and in the form of instructional design, how we can craft our courses so that they are effective and efficient for the purposes that we want them to be. And then we'll start discussing about how to set the learning objectives and goals of our courses. This is an extremely important part of instructional design, and this is where every professional trainer can get amazing help right away in order to create very, very effective and efficient content. And then we'll jump into the very practical stuff where we'll see actual prompt engineering, handcrafted, ready-made prompts that you can very easily adapt to your own situation so that you can create better course outlines. You can start creating engaging and interactive content. And then at the end, you can even assess the learning program of the content that you might have designed. So I'm trying here to give a very fast pace because we have lots of content for you today and we don't want to keep anything behind. Feel free to post your questions in the chat box. We'll try to answer as many things as possible. Keep it pacey and keep it helpful for you and engaging. So onwards to ChatGPT. As I mentioned, you've heard thousands of things about ChatGPT, what it is, what it works, whether it's good or bad, the ethics of ChatGPT, and how it might come to replace us. Well, I have some news for you. AI is not here to replace us, at least for the next few dozen years. But a person using AI can and probably will replace us. So this is why we need to be aware of the tools. AI, ChatGPT can be a catalyst for all creative workers, for every person who strives to create content in any form of or medium. So this is where we have to learn how it works in order to use it to elevate our own experience, to elevate our own productivity, to elevate our own creativity, and help us achieve our objectives. So we asked ChatGPT the question of what it does. Not sure if it's aware at this point, probably isn't, but it's an expert wordsmith. So ChatGPT is very good at explaining what it does. So it gives us here a quite elaborate answer that it's a language model developed by OpenAI, what kind of language prompts it uses, and how it can use deep learning techniques to understand and generate natural language text. So in simple words, ChatGPT is a knowledgeable and seemingly intelligent assistant designed to understand and generate human-like text responses in natural language interactions. It's amazing. If you've used it at any point, or you probably have seen thousands of examples out there, it's an amazing wordsmith. ChatGPT is really, really good at creating text like a human with very high quality. So these are the qualities that we would like to tweak to our advantage and use prompt engineering in order to get the results that we want. So prompting is the process of instructing AI to do a task. ChatGPT is very good with text, but it's not very good at the specifics. What it is good, though, is at understanding the instructions that we give it. So this is why We can give messages, questions, prompts, statements, requests, or sets of instructions that really tweak the answers of ChatGPT and bring them much closer to what we want to achieve. If we start with open-ended questions, we'll probably won't get what we want. The more specific we are, the more scripted we are, and the more structured are the questions that we pose, the better output is what we will get. So prompt engineering, and here is a nice little contradiction, the art of prompt engineering. We're not talking about engineering in the forms of math or traditional engineering. This is closer to software engineering, where there's a lot of creativity, an artistic even process, where we understand the quirks of ChatGPT, and we use a structured framework to get better results out of ChatGPT. It might not be optimal results as we say here, but will definitely be much better than you would do by just posting a very open-ended question. So here is an example of a ChatGPT prompt. And then we'll go directly to the specifics. Instead of just asking an open-generated question, what I want to get is a course on time management. So instead of just asking the ChatGPT to give me the contents of a course on time management, I spend a bit more time to describe what this course is for, who is the audience, what I want to achieve, and what should be the style, let's say, of the course. So at that point, ChatGPT comes back and gives me something that is much more specific, and I can then improve and elaborate. And in order to achieve this, we have already created and published a framework, a prompt engineering framework for course creators. There's already an ebook from us. You will receive this ebook. You can already download it from our website, where we are getting all the thousands of tests that we have done and other course creators out there have done, and really organize them in a nice 9-step framework, where instead of trying to field questions and randomly hitting here and there and trying to get some better results, we are being very specific. We ask ChatGPT, we define the expertise and the role of the audience, we specify the audience, we define the tasks that we wanted to achieve, we set the learning methods, we enhance the context, and all this stuff that some of these examples you will see here, and also you will have full access to the
And Panos, I think we have tested this framework several times with impressive results. So the difference between creating just a prompt asking, create an outline for this course, and creating a prompt that uses all these rules, it's huge. And since we are talking about content development, this difference may be even bigger and have even a bigger significance on the results and whether someone that creates a course may sell it or not, or the people are going to be happy with that or not. So, as you've said, this is not science. This is not engineering or mechanics. It's a way to think of how I can get the best results in the least time. And it's not fun. It's serious, because the results are really different if you use these principles.
And scary. So this is also the difference between testing ChatGPT and being disappointed with the results. Most people who don't get results are those that really randomly struggle to talk with ChatGPT. Here's a framework that can get you 8%, 80% there of where you want to become, and obviously you can keep working and evolving. So here's the last example from me. This is a comparison between two different slides that I try to make using the ChatGPT framework. The first one, very simply, open-endedly, I just asked GPT to give me some slides from product marketing. And on the top right, you see here the result. This is a decent slide, let's say, with 3 points. That's something that somebody could use. But would it be good enough to put into your next course? Or
It is already impressive. We have to admit that. It is already impressive. The fact that you can build all these slides so easily, it is already impressive. But I think what you are going to say is the more impressive.
With just a few seconds, I already got that it's halfway there. But here is what happens once you start using the framework. And when we're talking about using the framework, we're talking about just replacing a few variables that we have already there for you. So you just replace 3 variables or 4 with your audience, your targeted content, your kind of style, And this is the kind of slides that you get on the right. And this is where things really, really become serious and scary. And as a creator, that's something that you have to strive a lot to get to kind of high output like that. So imagine here the time savings, the productivity savings, the quality that you could do by combining your own knowledge and your expertise of the field with a super smart, intelligent assistant, an expert wordsmith at least, like ChatGPT at your hands. So I'm super happy to pass the baton to George Veletianos, our professor here, who will discuss about the instructional design problem and how we can in a structured way approach that with the help of ChatGPT.
Thank you, Panos. So everyone, this webinar is essentially about making your courses exceptional, right? And better, and reducing your pain points and making the course production and course creation process more efficient. But the first step that you have to do is to engage in analyzing the instructional problem. Many people think that to produce a great course, you have to start with the content. But in reality, what you have to do is identify the problem and the lack of knowledge and skill that people have and that your course is going to address. So to do that, what we have to do is figure out who's your audience, like who are the people that you're teaching? Is it teenagers? Is it seniors? Is it people who are working in product management? What do they need to know? What do they need to learn? And what is it that they already know? By figuring these three things out, you'll be ready to begin designing a course that can fill a gap. So let's look at how ChatGPT can help you. First, it can help you learn about your learners. Here's a template to ask about your specific audience and their learning characteristics. It says, you're an instructional designer. I'm creating a course on a specific topic. In this case, I'm creating a course to help business leaders improve their public speaking skills, right? What are the learning characteristics of this audience as they relate to my topic? And the answer that ChatGPT gives you can guide you into thinking more about who these people are, what their issues they're facing, how your course can help them. For example, it says this group of people may lack time, they're busy, and that sort of gives you some ideas about how you can begin designing your course, right? Your course might need to be short, or it might need to be flexible enough to address these individuals. A course, for example, that meets every day between 1 and 3 p.m. isn't going to work for these people. So here, ChatGPT sort of guides you into thinking more about your course. Let's look at the next slide. Another way to learn about your learners is to ask ChatGPT to create personas. A persona is basically a fictional but detailed representation of your target customer. So asking ChatGPT to generate different personas for your course may help you understand their background, their goals. For example, in generating personas for the business leaders here that we're talking about, I can see that they might have different backgrounds, perhaps different goals. Some of them might want to more clearly communicate to different audiences. Others might want to motivate and inspire people. And sure, if I had sat down for, a couple of hours just making notes about these individuals, I might have come up with similar ideas. But the issue here is that I can get this very quickly and start creating my courses rapidly, right? And what's exciting about this table right here, this persona table, is that they allow you to begin thinking about sort of different audiences and perhaps even begin thinking about different courses, right? So by looking at this course, I might say, well, ChatGPT here is talking about women leaders. It's talking about engineers and leaders that are in nonprofit organizations. Perhaps when I was thinking about one course, now I can be thinking about 3 different courses. After dealing with personas, we can start looking at people's training needs, right? I need to understand what experience and knowledge people might already have about the topic that I'm teaching them. Very few people are going to take a course about something that they already know about, but they're going to take a course to learn about something new or to expand their knowledge about something that they know. So for example, here we're teaching people how to manage their money. We're teaching budgeting, right? Here's a prompt that we can use. What experiences do young adults have in relation to managing their budget? ChatGPT says, well, people might have some experience about managing their income and expenses and saving money and so on. And these are great ideas about particular courses, but you have to be careful and ask, how much of this do they know and which of these things might they not know? So the next prompt here leads me to start asking about misconceptions, right? So the next slide is about sort of getting a sense of what people might not know. So therefore, what the gap might be that my course might address. So we can say, well, what are people's misconceptions about this particular topic? Are there ways in which their understanding of the problem of this topic is problematic? Where can I help? Where my course can add value? For example, here I can ask it to give me common misconceptions about product management. And once we understand the misconception that they might have, we might create training to respond to it. I'll pass it over to George now.
So the issue here is that we are trying to inject instructional design theory into the daily routine of people who probably haven't studied instructional design theory. So what we are saying is the first step is learning about learning more about your learners and the learners' characteristics and how they think and which are the problems, the misconceptions that they have. And of course, as you understand, if you were in a real environment, you had to do research there. You have to ask people. And now ChatGPT can give you a fantastic overview of what is happening out there. So you are saving tons of time. So the last thing that we are suggesting to you in that first phase of exploring the problem and the problem space is see what the others are doing. Ask ChatGPT to propose a list of other online courses with the same topic as yours. And ChatGPT doesn't just give you the list of the courses, but also provide you with some summary of these courses. So just a prompt, and in 1 minute, you can have a good overview of what's happening out there in the specific topic in terms of content. And the last thing is, don't be afraid, even if it is too early, because you haven't set your learning objectives, you don't know what you are going to do, get a glimpse, let's go to the next slide, of how the topic could be developed. So ask a simple question, create a curriculum for my topic, and get a fast glimpse of what is happening out there, what probably you will need to develop. But now we are in the first phase, we've done the research, we understood about the learners, let's go to the second phase where we have to set our learning objectives.
And it's important to remember that ChatGPT isn't the only tool, right? There's other ways to gather some of this information, but this is one additional tool in your toolkit as you're building your courses. Learning objectives are a very simple thing. It's basically a statement that says, my students are going to be able to do this after they're done with my course. Here's an example. After watching this webinar, you'll be able to use ChatGPT to identify 3 new audiences for your courses. That's a learning objective, right? That's something that we're trying to teach in this webinar. So the learning objective also tells me as a teacher what I need to make sure that you will learn, and it tells you as a student what you will get out of this. I'll share 3 ways to create learning objectives. And they're typical in the instructional design business, and we can see how ChatGPT can help you here. Let's imagine that you're creating a course to help families, again, create a budget. Perhaps it's a course about a newly married couple who are joining their finances, and they want to figure out how they can work together as a team. I'm asking ChatGPT here to use Revolutionize simplified conditions model to create 6 learning objectives for my course. What's this model? It's basically an approach to creating learning objectives that goes from simple to complex. And in this case, you'll see how the answer that's provided here goes from helping people understand basic terms, like what is a budget, what are assets, over to more complex things like identifying where money comes in and comes out, tracking the money and where it goes in and out, and so on, and eventually creating a budget, right? It's a very sort of procedural way to help me teach this topic. And there's 2 benefits here, right? The first benefit is that we can quickly see the learning objectives and revise them, but it also suggests a structure, right? So I can take these learning objectives and create a course that follows the structure. If I think it works, it might not always work, right? Another approach is to use a different design to learning objectives, and that's use Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is basically an approach that orders learning objectives according to their level of complexity. Remembering is the lowest form of complexity, and creating is the highest form of complexity. In this course, again, asking ChatGPT to generate learning objectives for a course on training dogs how to do fun tricks. The most simple objective is for people to actually remember what the commands are. If you can't remember what commands you have to give your dog about something, your dog isn't going to do it, right? So you have to remember the exact commands. So that's the very simple first sort of element. The next element is to apply these commands, right? You have to walk through people through how to not just say sit, but to teach their dog how to sit and then to do it over and over again.
There is also another approach. May I say something more general so as to go a little bit faster? So what we're presenting here is just some keywords that you can use even without knowing the theories. So we suggested Bloom taxonomy, Regeluth approach, and SMART approach. So what we are saying to you is just use these keywords as we are going to suggest you in the ebook that you are going to get after the presentation, just to inform your designs. You have to think clever. You have to be clever. You have to use different perspectives so as to create something which is fantastic, which is excellent, which is beyond the expected one. So we are offering you theories that probably you not know, but you can apply even without knowing them, because you will read and you will understand them in practice. That's what ChatGPT changed. It gave us the space to convert the theory into practice, and everyone to be able to use theories like that without having to study to the university or whatever. Of course, there are a lot more to learn, but now in a practical, let's say, scope, you can use them and get a great result. So I think we can go on with how to start building the course outline.
Yeah, so there's lots of approaches to teaching and learning, right? Lots of years, people have tried to come up with theories how to do that. Let me show you just 4 of them very quickly. So like George said, you can use to sort of begin building your course outline. The first one is Merrill's sort of principles of instruction. So Merrill basically studied a bunch of theories and then came up with 4 or 5 steps that you can use. We all have ideas about how people learn. But here's how you can apply these principles. You can say, please create a course outline specifically using Merrill's principles of instruction. And what it does is that it generates modules that use the main components of this theory. For example, in week 1, you can add, and this is a course about monetizing YouTube, right? In week 1, perhaps you can ask students about their personal experiences with monetizing YouTube. Perhaps you can ask them to demonstrate to them how they earn income through YouTube, and then apply this knowledge. So let's look at a different theory and see how our course outline might be different. If we use Gagnier's 9 events of instruction, which is basically a different theory that says, use these 9 steps to create the design of your course, you'll see that in week 1, Gagnier would suggest that the first step is to get people's attention, right? Merrill suggests activating prior knowledge, but Gagnier says, well, make it such that people engaging in your course are excited to learn about this course, right? So you can see here how different theories have different ideas about how to develop a course and how we can use them so that ChatGPT can tell us sort of different or suggest different outlines for different kinds of courses. Let's see a third one. Kolb is yet another theorist, and what he says is that people learn through experience. He says, you're not going to learn to play basketball by just watching basketball on the TV. How you're going to learn to play basketball is by playing basketball, by observing basketball, by thinking about it, by making mistakes and trying it again. So how would that look if we apply it to monetizing YouTube? And the modules that are suggested here are different than the other ones that we saw, right? And here you can explore and play around with it and see which one might work for your particular content. And that's the beauty of it.
So the last approach here to create an outline is the problem-based solving. So let's go to the next slide. So again, what is learning? learning usually starts, we learn so as to solve problems. So this approach says, let's start with the problem and let's build all the content based on the problem. So if you have a prompt that says, create an outline based on problem-based learning approach, then you are going to get what you are seeing in the second column. So my question to you is the following. You are creating a course. We offer you 4 prompts so as to create outlines with 4 different theories. Are you crazy enough not to run these prompts before finalizing your content? This is of huge value. This is what will make you better than anyone else out there. And now let's continue to the third part of the presentation, which is, let's go on, Panos, how to build the learning content, which is a very interesting part. So when we are talking about building a content, usually we're talking about creating texts and creating video scripts. Here we offer you, I will not delve into that. You will get that with the slides and with our ebook where everything will be explained, a template of how to create ebooks. So what we are saying here is do not ask ChatGPT to create, let's say, a text about product marketing, an intro to product marketing. Try to say, what type of ebook do you want? Do you want a training one, an interview, a Q&A kind of introduction? Do you want to be a testimonial? Select the audience and specify the level of expertise for your audience. Are they experts? Are they novices? Set the topic and the goal. I want them to persuade them. I want to inform them. I want to educate them. Set the size of the text and set also the tone of voice. Do you want a funny text? Do you want a humorous, a serious, an optimistic, a motivational, an inspirational? If you try inspirational tone of voice, you will be amazed of how ChatGPT writes your text content. And of course, you can say to ChatGPT, I want the text for that, but also I want to include there this concept, and this concept. And you can also dictate to it how to structure it. I want these 5 headings. And of course, you can also ask it to add resources and bibliography. So let's go to the next slide.
All right, so now whatever George said, let's take it and apply it to an example, right? So right here, we need to create some text, and we're asking ChatGPT to be a seasoned life coach. We need to write a case study for medium to medium level of expertise according to the SMART goals. And right here, you have to persuade them of its value. We're asking for a friendly tone of voice, and we need for it to include 3 topics of discussion and 3 resources. Now, you may not have all the time to read this through. We're going to share the slides, but you can see straight away that it does exactly that. It is acting as a life coach. You see that it is dividing these in client backgrounds and so on. You'll see right here that it is actually using the SMART goals. And if we were able to scroll down, this is a screenshot, you'd be able to see all the resources over here as well.
So what we are suggesting is copy this prompt that we are going to give you and set the variables, and do not create tens of prompts and spending your time in a not reasonable way. The same applies for the next slide, which is the video script. Again, we have prepared all the variables that you have to know. I will not go into that. Elisa, let's show an example.
Yes, let's go straight over to the next slide. And remember, this time we are trying to create a video, so we're asking for a script on that. So again, we need for it to act as a professional in product management. So we need tips and tricks for entry-level project managers. So this is what the video is going to be about. We're setting out the limit for the video, so it knows exactly the length. Of course, the tone of voice, again, we need for it to include tips for common pain points. We can, of course, include jokes, and it's always much easier for users to consume content if they're a bit more funny and lightweight. So feel free to do that. We specify the structure. So we need an introduction, and you can see that over here as well. So introduction, identifying effective KPIs, and so on. And then we ask for it to break it down into scenes, and you can see that exactly, and you can see from here the suggested visuals and everything that we asked for it over here. So not only text, but of course we can get tables as well, like the one we can see here.
So the next hack concerns the text. What can we do with the text, with existing text, the text that we already have probably created? So there are two levels of actions here. The first level is the small, let's say the small edits. We are offering you these 8 approaches so as to simplify your text if you think it is complex, to polish it if English are not your natural language, to rewrite it if you want to reuse it, for example, in another context, to rephrase it, again, for the same purposes, to shorten it if you want to have a smaller version of that in another place, to expand it, to enrich it, and to keep writing. Keep writing means you can write a text and ask ChatGPT to keep writing based on that text. So these 8 prompts, and we have examples for each one of them, are helpful so as to edit your texts, your existing texts. Very useful. I think it's very useful to test each one of them on your text so as to understand its value and see how that can be used in different contexts. And then we have, in the next slide, we have 3, let's say, bigger text edits. The first one is summarize your text. You always create a summary at the end of your chapter or whatever. So ask ChatGPT to provide you that summary. Create key takeaways, or make the whole text more fun, more motivational, more inspirational, and so on. So 2 kinds of edits for your text. The first one is polish, refine, rephrase, and the second one is summarize, create key takeaways, or change the whole tone of voice for the text. Very useful so as to produce easily and fast textual content.
Something I wanted to add here, George, is that please, folks, don't mistake these as simple text and titles that we put on a slide. This is why we call them hacks. If you come from the gaming world, you could understand them as spells. These are very specific keywords that have very specific results when used in this context of a prompt towards ChatGPT. So they really transform the result, the output that you would get from ChatGPT. So these are tested, and if you copy paste them within your own prompts, you will definitely see the difference in the kind of in the specificity of the output that they create, and even more so for the theories that we mentioned before. Even if you don't know the deep underlying theory of one instructional design framework, but you understand that it exists, it can really inform your process of designing your content. So this is having like an expert instructional designer sitting side by side with you. This is something that you would have to spend a few $100s just to get somebody to give you a review on your instructional design of your course, and you can have that now in a matter of a few seconds.
All right, so I think in the next slide, we can see some text optimization examples that we saw. So how can we simplify a complex concept, right? So very easily, you can simply just follow up and say, explain it like I'm 5. So for instance, right here, we're asking, what is enterprise risk management? Explain it like I'm 5. And as you can imagine, there's so many ways for you to use this for so many concepts. And right away, you can see at the far top that it says, let's pretend like you're getting ready to ride your bike, right? So what a best way to describe it exactly like you're 5. Of course, this could be applied in really anything that you wanted to simplify it down more. And next up, we have to discover a key points. So again, if you have text and you need to locate the key points for that, you can use that as well. You can move on to the next one. So right here, we can compare. So compare this to something else. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, not only text, but you can also produce table format. So from here, we're asking you to compare the waterfall and agile product development methodologies. We're asking specifically to highlight strengths and weaknesses and all of that in a table format. And you can see that over here in terms of definition, strength, and here are the 2 different methodologies.
And although although you are presenting it like it is very easy, it is very complex to compare 2 concepts. So you can get that just with this prompt.
Yes, Yes, exactly. Very useful. So not only comparing, but also you can get pros and cons straight away with that as well. And in the next slide, if you want to go over to the 17th, right here, we can present the content in the form of the story. And storytelling is very, very powerful. It helps it a lot easier. It's a lot easier for users to understand and consume the information if it is in a story way, in a story manner, if you wish. So straight away, you can ask ChatGPT to create a story. You can select specifically what it's going to illustrate. So from here, we are asking for a story that illustrates the importance of teamwork. So it is creating a scenario about that. And if you read through it, you'll see that it starts off with once upon a time, there was a team of bustling people in New York City and so on.
I think that
you see that it even can. So yeah, at your own time, when you get the slides, feel free to go through this and run it yourself.
I think, Elisa, that George, who is a professor and he understands better the value of storytelling, can tell us more about that.
Thank you for that, George. Elisa did great work, but it looks like she's frozen as well. So I'll jump
slides,
in.
so you can carry on.
Sure, yeah. No worries. Like Elisa said, stories are powerful, right? And they're a popular way to structure your content in the form of a story. There's a reason that people have told stories for thousands of years, right? Stories are memorable, they're effective, and they're good teaching tools. But the challenge for us as course creators, that it takes a lot of time to create good stories. It would take a lot of time to create a good story. So when we suggest using ChatGPT to help you with a story or with some of the other prompts, is to basically suggest that ChatGPT is a helper, right? It's not here to replace you, but it's to help you be perhaps more efficient. And you can improve, of course, upon what it gives you. So in this story, we establish the context, we talk about the tone, the length, the issues that we want to cover, and it would have taken me 30 minutes to generate this draft, but ChatGPT does it very quickly and can take it and improve it. There might be hallucinations and mistakes here, but I can improve what it gives me. I'm not going to take this and just paste it into my course, right? We're not suggesting that you do that. We suggest that you use it as a helper to help you move much faster. Another approach or another hack is to sort of create use ChatGPT to ask it to take the role of a well-known character, to discuss a topic, to have a debate, to present different sides to an argument, to engage your audience in essentially a different approach with engaging with your content. So here we're asking to act as Socrates, to present an argument for the value of Scandinavian design. In the next slide, we're asking it to present to take the opposite role and discuss the negatives of Scandinavian design, trying to essentially add some creativity to this idea of a debate around the topic. I think I'm going to go back to Liza for Q&A.
Just a comment here. So when you're building learning material, you have to always to present in different ways. Else you are in the area of monotony. You cannot intrigue your students. So it's very interesting that we are presenting all these ways so as the learning path that you are going to create to be unexpected. So what we are saying is just somewhere in your course, add the learning activity where students have to interact with Socrates. So that's totally unexpected. And also may have to interact with Socrates in two different contexts. In the one context, Socrates supports something, and in the other, something else. So it's very provocative so as to be engaged with the content. So it's not just a prompt, it's a really intriguing way of making students engage with your content.
And also it's something that in real terms for a teacher, as George mentioned, it would be almost impossible to do consistently or for many cases. What you can do here is really take it to the next level and really infuse all your learning content with such extreme cases that in normal work time of a professor, it would take years of work to really come back with such a full curriculum of that sort.
Yep, that's true. Okay, so let's see a few other formats. So creating a Q&A, very easily done. Let's say that right here, there is an example. Let's say that you're teaching the French cuisine. You can ask for a simple and easy to understand Q&A about that. And it's going to generate just that, as you can see, the questions and the answered. You can specify exactly how many you want, and that's going to generate that. Next up in Hack 20, you can create flashcards. So not only Q&As, simple text, and tables, you can also request for flashcards. So from here, we're asking you to act as a dog trainer and create flashcards. You can determine exactly what to show in the front side and in the back side. And right here, it does exactly that. So it says in the front side, the breed, and then in the back side, we ask for some characteristics on that. So that's what we're going to get here. Back to you if you want to.
I think we have discussed about that. It's about how we create slides, and here we are offering some variables. The variables is, for example, say how many bullets you want for each slide. Say whether you want speaker notes. Say whether you want ChatGPT to suggest visuals. Say ask ChatGPT to offer you some quotes or give you some compelling statistics so as to engage learners more with your presentation, and ask ChatGPT to propose some creative touches, which are unexpected. So if you ask in that way ChatGPT to create slides for you, it creates something totally different from just asking it to create slides, which is already impressive, as we've said. Liz?
Yes, sorry. So right here, use fun and creative approaches. Like we said, it's always a lot easier for users if the text and the information is lighter in the sense of being funnier. So make sure to do that. You can decide and select a specific style of character for that. For instance, right here, we are requesting it to say the information in the style of a cowboy, and you can see exactly that into the text. So it says, well, now saddle up partners, and you'll see that it makes an analogy. It uses cows and other cowboy related words to go about the information that you require. So be fun and creative.
So, and we strongly suggest in the next slide to use lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is something like a creative thinking, which was introduced by Di Bono. You can search for the theory behind lateral thinking. So here we are asking ChatGPT to talk about reinforcement with lateral thinking. If you have time and read the text, you will see that we are talking about something from another planet. So ChatGPT offers us a view on reinforcement based on totally different concept. Lateral thinking means connecting totally different worlds so as to make analogies and metaphors. We strongly suggest to use that and to test that, because it will bring a very nice, will make your content a lot more engaging and more unexpected.
Yes, and staying in the fun concept, why not use emojis? They're very, very widespread right now. I've even seen them printed out. So you can ask ChatGPT to explain something with emojis. So from here, we're saying you're a coach, write learning objectives about a course for time management, and use emojis. And you can see exactly that in the beginning of each phrase. And if we go over to the next slide, you'll see that instead of doing that, we can also ask it to completely translate via emojis. So right here, tell me how a personal coach feels in his daily routine with emojis. So we can see exactly that in the emojis array. Next up, you can ask ChatGPT to create a crossword puzzle. So why not? So create a crossword puzzle for accessing students' knowledge about gravity. You'll see that there is the words at the beginning, and right under you can see the words that can be used, for instance, in a crossword puzzle. If we move over to,
And
sorry,
so-
George.
Sorry,
You want-
Elisa, just to add something, because I just saw a similar question in the chat. And yes,
Yeah.
here, this is a prompt that asks for a generic crossword puzzle, but you can feed ChatGPT with your own content, with your own presentation, with your own ebook, which means that it can create a crossword puzzle or any other type of assessment or any other type of comparison or lateral thinking or a contra presentation based on what you feed it with. So if you feed it with your basic context, it can really enhance and upgrade that context with what you're asking you to do.
Yes, exactly. So
Absolutely.
next up, create. Was somebody talking? Sorry, I interrupted. All right, so hack 26, create role-playing scenarios. So generate a role-playing scenario on human rights to be used by K-12 students. And you'll see that it does exactly that. In the beginning, it starts with the title, you got your scenario and the introduction, character profiles, and the actual scenario that you need to follow through. So very easily done as well.
And again, to me, it never stops being so impressive. The level of productivity that you get out of that for a normal teacher who is a professor in a university who is trying to teach anything about human rights, this would be a few days worth of work at least before you get something as decent as that. So the starting point, the bar is so much higher now.
And the creativity that it requires, right? Not only the time. Right, so in the next hack, we see a timeline. So we can ask ChatGPT to create a timeline. So create a timeline of how educational technology evolved. This is pretty precise, and you can see it start off in the 1920s all the way to 2024. And obviously it could be applied in any other topic that you wish the timeline for. In the next slide, hack 28, create a journal prompt. So journal prompts are thought-provoking questions or statements that serve as writing prompts to inspire reflection, self-expression, or personal growth, right? So of course, we definitely want to use this. And right here, we're asking from ChatGPT to create 20 journal prompts for learners in marketing to reflect. And you see exactly that. Obviously, if you were able to scroll, we'd be able to see the rest as well. Next up, we are able to create annotated bibliography. So create an annotated bibliography on the value of self-confidence. And you'll see that it's going to list books that discuss exactly that right here. So very easily done. And obviously, as you can imagine, that would have taken you time to do all the research and find all these books, right? And that's ChatGPT is just going to be able to do that in a matter of seconds, really. So next up, we have to create concept maps. Well, we can create concept maps. So right here, we're asking it to provide me with an environmental science concept map. And this is exactly what it does here. Concept maps are hierarchical maps. So you can see that over here too. Next up, we have hack 31, where we can ask for it to create infographics. They're extremely popular. So help me design a three-layer infographics on climate change. Suggest visuals where applicable. And you can see that it starts layer 1 and it describes exactly what visuals you're going to show. Goes on with the title, you got a brief, and layer 2, again, same thing. I don't know if you guys want to add anything here, otherwise we can go over to the next one. Next up, we can create glossaries. So extremely important if somebody's trying to look up a specific term. So you can ask for it to generate a glossary about whatever topic you want, for instance, product management, and it does exactly that. So if you had any questions about what agile development is, there you go, your answer is right there. Next up, we have the storyboards. So again, extremely helpful. You can ask ChatGPT to create a storyboard. Right here, we're doing that for the topic of health eating at school. So here's how it starts, a frame 1. It starts on with the scene and what you need to do, the character, and so on. So the story frame by frame.
So what we are really offering right now to you is a list of conceptual objects that you can use with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can understand storyboards, glossaries, infographics, concept maps, bibliography, journal prompts, timeline, role-play scenarios, crossword puzzle, emojis, and so many things. So this is the new thing. You will not find anywhere all this stuff together. We are the only ones that have done that work, and we compiled all that thing in this list. So you have to remember these conceptual objects, and you have to ask them from ChatGPT so as to create your content. And I think we can go to the last part of our presentation about assessment. George?
Sure. Before I start talking about that, thank you, Liz, for all that amazing information, and George for expanding on it. Lots of our friends on the chat have mentioned about hallucinations, right? So I just want to reiterate here that yes, ChatGPT hallucinates. That's one of the challenges, and that's why we're suggesting, the content that it generates for you, don't take that as truth, right? You are content experts. So take this as a starting point. It allows you to start much quicker, but you have to pay attention to it. The last step in every single course is assessment. You have to check, you have to ensure that your students learned what you're wanting them to learn. Everyone's familiar with multiple choice questions. I'm not going to discuss those, but I'm just going to very quickly go through a couple of examples of other kinds of assessment that you can use. The first one is scenarios. Scenarios basically refer to creating settings for your students to allow them to practice and evaluate their skills. For example, in this case, I'm asking for ChatGPT to generate a scenario that allows me to assess whether my students are able to brew the perfect coffee. I want to help them brew the perfect coffee. How can I do that? And suggest a challenge, right? And a challenge is a really interesting assessment that I would not have thought about by myself. So that sort of gives me an idea of where can I go. The next slide suggests ways to make my multiple choice assessments, which lots of us use, more interesting. So what I want to do here is create a scenario that would allow me to ask multiple choice questions of my students such that perhaps it might be more interesting, perhaps it might be more inviting. So here it creates the case of a team of professionals that are in a virtual business meeting and then asks the questions. The last part that I want to fill out, I'm going to jump over fill in the blanks because we don't have much time, but I really want to talk about self-assessment, which is 2 slides down. Self-assessment is basically a process by which students evaluate whether they have learned what you wanted them to learn. So what I'm asking ChatGPT here to do is to create a self-assessment checklist. The checklist here includes 7 questions to enable people to evaluate whether they learn what I wanted them to learn. So here I'm trying to teach them how to appear professional on video conferences, which is something that we all do, right? So ChatGPT creates this table, creates a question that I can go through and check whether what I'm doing is actually accurate or not. Another example is in the next slide around self-assessments. I can use ChatGPT to help me basically take my course and divide it into segments. People don't need to go through my 9-week course, right? If they know a little bit about the beginning, they know a little bit about the middle, maybe they can start somewhere else. So here I'm saying, create a checklist that allows me to divide my course in 3 units, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Give me the checklist, allow people to check whether they know these different areas, and then they can start at different areas. So we'll include this in the ebook and you can play around with it and see how it might work. Over to you, Panos, I think.
We are creating the ebook. Ebook will be ready next week. So we will send to everyone this book and also the previous book so as to study it and to start exploring it. So I think 3 very important things before you leave, which I'm sure that you will love. The first thing is 22 of June, LearnWalls has a huge launch event. And what are we bringing? We are bringing AI in LearnWalls. And all this stuff that you are seeing here will start being implemented inside our platform for creating courses. So isn't that amazing? So as to have all that help inside your platform. And secondly, Panos?
Yeah, and we've seen how much people are being helped by that. how much more easy now the course creation can be, and all these courses that you had left hanging, all these ideas that you were never able to complete, how with a framework like that can really come into fruition. So in order to help you, we'll make Learnwell's platform even more accessible, also in anticipation with our new product launch and the AI tools that will come with that. So we share a coupon, May 25 off, which gives you a 20% off discount for the next 6 months of using the Learnwell. So hopefully this will make a few more people, it will make it easier for them to really jump on a tool. You can always start with a free trial by going to our website. So there's no strings attached. This is just something that you obviously can test and see if you like. But we really believe that with the help of ChatGPT, whether it's a free version for the basic stuff or a paid version for even bigger prompts and bigger context sizes, you will be able to progress so much faster at creating your courses, and you will be blown away by the output. Your knowledge packaged with the help of an expert assistant, with all the instructional design hacks and spells that we gave you, you can make so much more informed choices in the design of your courses, in the assessment of the content, even in the creation of each and every slide, ebook, video, assessment, self-assessment, or anything else. So I will share the coupon via an email. Everyone who already has a trial, they can just go there and simply use the coupon. The rest, you can always go to our website, www.learnwells.com, start a 30-day free trial. As always, no strings attached. Start creating your content. Start thinking about the next course that you wanted always to do and you never had the time, or the next best course that you want to relaunch and recreate. And the framework that we shared here today can really become an amazing assistant to you, to give you all the instructional design certainty and the ambition, and also the certainty to create some amazing content.
And Pano, this is a coupon only for the participants of this webinar, am I right?
This is something that only we share with you. It's only available for new customers, for people who haven't yet signed up with Learnwell. So we want to make it accessible to you, make it as easy as possible to really getting your hands on the framework today, getting the hands on the content and the ebook that we will share. Start experimenting, and I think you will be blown away by the output, and you will want to share that with the world.
We have to thank George for being here. It was an honor to have also your profile, your knowledge, your expertise here to create all the content together. So thanks a lot, George, for being here.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, George, for having me. Thanks, Eliza, for your amazing input. Thanks, Pano. Thanks to the whole team. This is great.
Thanks, Eliza, also for your amazing help. Thanks, George. I saw one of the questions was whether this framework has been created with the help of ChatGPT. No, it hasn't. It requires experts like George, and it requires practitioners like Eliza to really test all this stuff, and many other people in our team who really tested all these little prompts and tweaked them in order to get something as coherent and as effective and as workable as the framework that we shared today, and all these hacks. So we are a bit over time. Sorry for not being able to field any questions from you. I've seen many hands. Should we spare a couple of minutes to answer a couple? Let's see what we have.
Quite a few.
We have quite a few. There was one question whether which version of ChatGPT was used. Yeah, in our case, we used ChatGPT 4. Most of the stuff you can get here, you can also get with one of the free versions of ChatGPT, but with much smaller context, so the output might not be as elaborate. We had some questions of whether the limitations of how ChatGPT was trained, having access to data only until up to September 2021, whether it's sufficient to be used. Newer versions of ChatGPT and paid versions have plugins that allows them to really browse the entire web or specific websites, so you can update them with the content that you want, and definitely you can update them with your own content. And using some of the prompt engineering we showed here today, you can enhance this with the help of an instructional designer, a virtual instructional designer by your hand. Let's see what else. I saw another question whether we should talk to ChatGPT in a polite way. I think politeness is not a bad thing. It's not a bad habit at all. It wouldn't change the output that you get. However, it is believed, and we know that in many cases, prompts are being used to train other versions of language models, whether of ChatGPT or other models. So if we want to end up with really polite large language models like ChatGPT, we should make it a habit of using polite words. Why not? Let's not teach it all our bad habits. For poster and infographic, I think we had for a couple of cases for infographic. You won't get the actual infographic from here. You would have to use other tools, perhaps that obviously handle visual output, but you will have some very clear specifications or requirements for what you want to create. Whether for the timeline or for anything else, as George mentioned, ChatGPT might hallucinate. So you have to, the more specific questions you ask, the more specific answers you might get, but you want to verify. When Elisa mentioned creating a bibliography, this is not a bibliography just to put at the end of the presentation. This is a bibliography that you should read before giving it to your students. So this is not about faking online courses. This is about how you can multiply your creativity, your productivity, get answers, and really get to your objectives much faster, but you have to do the actual work. Only you can do it with the help of something that is so much more than a bicycle. That's a machine that can really enhance all your creativity and all your productivity. I don't know, guys, if you've seen any other questions that you think there are dozens here, so we'll definitely.
We are over the time, Panos. I think we should.
So we would like to thank you all. Thanks for being part of this presentation. Thanks again, George, and Elisa, and everybody assisting on the chat. Stay safe, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.